I also believe that there's going to be an opportunity for those who really get purposeful around how they're communicating with clients to actually have a lot of momentum coming out of this shift that's happening. So we're going to talk about how to really navigate this and move forward in a valuable way. And the question we've got to start with is, what is value in terms of business? How many of you went through Value Squared? How many of you went through that course? So some of you might be able to help. And those who haven't gone through it, I highly encourage you to go through that course. Gary Keller right now is writing another course. Is it List to Learn? Is that the name of the course? Which sounds pretty nice. I'm excited for that one. That's going to come out in the fall. You want to master Value Squared first before he releases this new course. That's going to be loaded for tactical things. How to get listings. How to grow a real estate business. But it all starts with the foundation of knowing about it. You're creating a value proposition. So go through that course if you haven't already. But let's chat about this really quick. What, in your perspective, is value when it comes to terms of business? About to get some answers. There's no right or wrong answers here. It's your beliefs.
It's really just understanding what people's needs or motivations are and helping them get those. So that's how we create value.
That's what I was going to say. Just creative solutions for people's needs. Especially in real estate, right? It's so important. Being a professional problem solver. Understand all pickups that we can run into in a transaction and live on that, navigating people through that challenge. Great ones. Any others? Morty.
I liked when Darcy Benincasa was here and she was talking about the branding class. And she was talking about how, she had that list of values that we were supposed to put, 4 or 5 that resonated with us. And I liked that because our value, I think, stems from our values. What is important to me? And then I'm going to attract clients who have similar values. So I liked that more.
Yeah, get clear about your values is actually super important, right? Because that comes through how you do business.
I'd say it's the trust and that you would have in either person or product.
Trust you have in person or product. The way that they kind of definition that they gave Value Squared is it's the difference between the price and charge and the value your clients will receive from the service. I said this in our sales camp earlier this morning that the value you provide should morph the amount of reward that you receive for your service. Meaning you should be getting far more value than you actually expect to receive in return. And we know that conditions are pretty large in real estate. So that's a pretty big task, right? Saying, how can I pack so much value into the service I'm providing where my client feels that it's an absolute win? Cards were stacked in their favor. They got more out of this transaction than I did in compensation. And so think about what would that look like? What kind of purposeful experiences would you have to stage into a client's experience to have, let's say that? I've said this before as well, is that exceeding expectations or meeting expectations rather is nothing special. So the focus should be on how do I exceed client expectations, leading them to lifelong loyalty. So how do I go above and beyond what they expect you to come back? Now, I want to just point out the reality of how human beings work. Everybody at any moment before they make a purchase or before they make a big buying decision, you do this cost-benefit analysis in the mind. And essentially you're weighing out, are the benefits I'm going to receive greater than or less than the cost or the price I have to pay? Right? Now, I know if we look at clients today, what is being challenged, and Dan, maybe you can give your perspective from a global level, right? What is being challenged to the loss?
the cost side. Then how much does it cost?
And people are saying that the sellers are overpaying, right? And what we have to get very clear about is talking about, well, how are sellers and how are buyers benefiting on both sides from using a trusted advisor or real estate? Now, you have to understand that when you're sitting in listings, I've talked to some agents recently who sat in listing consultations. How many of you who been on listing appointments recently have had a client bring up the lawsuit and talked about they don't really know the value to pay buyers? Go ahead. Yeah. So, Mark, I know that's on team. You guys have talked to quite a few clients. Susie, Jen, you guys have talked to clients where they're asking the same question because they used to talking about it. Okay? So I just want you to understand behind the scenes what's happening is people are always doing this. They've always done this. Have looked at the benefit versus the cost. So if humans constantly perform a cost versus benefit analysis, and the reason why this is important to understand is asking yourself, what should you charge for the value you provide? Right? Initiatives are negotiable. Right? So, yeah, this is my opinion, is that whatever causes the receipt of my services or my clients to feel that they got the better end of the deal. And we'll talk about how that looks in sort of a buyer, sort of a seller, or an investor. Almost for a little bit different on the value that you provide. I want to share this though. Is value actually based on price? Is it actually based on a 3% versus a 2%? Based on outcome. There's something more about that. Well, yes. If the seller doesn't use a broker rather than his neighbor tells him that they want to buy the house, or without the broker, there was no contract, or ultimately the neighbor didn't buy the house, what was the value of saving the brokerage? Or the other way around, if the broker was involved and actually took that transactional discussion to a real sale, what was the value for the seller? He got what they wanted. That didn't want. So based on the outcome that a client receives, yeah, should that few elements us to the back it. So thank you, chaps.
People on Zoom. I just remember a few years ago when Holdy rolled out, right? And the only thing I want to point out is it's not just based off the outcome, but it's also not also based off the price, but it's based off value, but it's also what you can show. So I remember when Holdy came out like a few years ago, I thought some of the best thing agents did was point out what their clients are missing by going with the home, right? Like, hey, you just sold your house for maybe $40,000 less than what it should have sold for, but congratulations, you saved, 4% on your agent commission sales, right? So I just wanted to point that out, that it's not just value, but I think part of what the agent's job to do is to show the value that you're actually creating for them, right? Being able to portray that so the borrower or lender is the borrower, but the buyer or seller are understanding of the value too.
Yes, that's great. Jim?
On the flip side, there's also people that have received 3%, 2.5%, and actually haven't done a whole lot of value in that project. They haven't met that criteria. So I think that's also where we need to work on creating that. So it's not about if I paid 3% or if I paid 2.5%, I got this. Some people have done it the other way. So make sure to ignore the one creating the value.
Absolutely. And a lot of buyers and sellers base their future transactions, right? They're now buying or selling transactions on a previous experience they had with an agent.
Hard to the other topic than nothing. So they're coming in closely with that.
But
Not to say that experience
That's and that's what I love. Then at the same time, because what happens when you do earn that business, right? When it's all, it's literally a completely different experience, and you over deliver from what they expect, and they could see the 90-day difference between the first agent and the what happens to you earning their long-term business, the world, right? Like it's to the moon. So that's like the best situation. Is if they can see, yeah, but they can become an agent. It's already just like Jet. They give a license.
I would say too, like we were talking a lot about enlisting, that it shows how much value you can get. We used to say you just gained another $20,000 on this phone that you wouldn't have thought otherwise. You could say the other way as the buyer, like you have access to not only the expertise of your agent, but to the agent has access to resources that you don't have access to, like the MLS, other agents, if they are brokerage, even without, or for even just how to get there, but being able to show and convey that, I think, is another part of this.
Great. Yeah, it's how we communicated our value. I think is probably the core conversation of the ability to get out right now. And today we're just really getting our mindset right to this conversation. We're going to continue this and go deeper on like, okay, how do we actually put this into practice? Like, what do we actually do to increase the value that we deliver to clients? So this is more just like, let's talk about what is value, how do we create it, and then we'll get into some more details on it. But one of the things I want to separate in your mind is price has nothing to do with value. Meaning that their clients, there's some agents who charge 4% in the past, a 4% listing fee, 5%, 6%, some charge 7%. And a lot of it comes down to their perceived value. How much value am I actually creating or delivering to this client? Like, how much work and energy am I putting into this? The funny thing is, clients don't buy based off of the price alone. What they're buying is the potential outcome they're going to receive. And people will pay a premium for that. Will pay for a premium for the outcome they're going to receive. This is an example of some different products. Remember Disney Dance in there? Becca Summers is on Zoom with us. Benno, she's one of those. Anybody else in this room that really loves this? I don't know. You've checked this out. This is so when you go next, you might have to pick the VIP experience up. But the Disney private VIP tour prices range from $450 to $900 per hour for somebody to guide you around Disney.
Yeah, I actually have a brother that does it. And when you go to Disney, it's the people that are wearing the checkered vest. They're the VIP tour guides. You'll start noticing them if you start realizing what's happening.
What do people get in this?
You go through the exit or through the fast pass line in every single ride. And you start at one end of the park and go around. But I think the coolest part, what they do, is they show you every hidden Mickey in the park. And they give you every single fact you want to know about every name on Main Street, because there are things you don't even notice if you don't look. So I've never done it, but I have found members now, and they love it. They won't go back. So the regular line of singing ones. Yeah.
And see, that's a funny example where people will pay a premium for the experience, right? So what are you doing to create that premium type experience for your clients where they say, I will pay that premium because I know I'm getting the result that I want, right? It's going to be better.
Per hour. You can have a group of 10. You can only have up to 10 people.
it's a kind of like $2.
Well,
I didn't play.
and that does not include your part to the ticket or the ticket to the park, just so you know. You have those are sold separately.
Yeah.
How many of you have an iPhone in this room?
Everybody but Dean.
Then right.
Yeah, I like the thing that's fast and is waters. It's like there.
If you look at the prices that Apple has charged the phone over time, that's increased, right? But there's also a perceived value. And the funny thing is, what does Apple actually sell? One part of it I've seen people, I used to be an Android user, and I was on the shaming side for quite some time. People shaming me because I had a green bubble. The funny thing is they sell that, like they purposely program that to work like that way. And so they create some community, right? Which is another thing of what people buy into. And so it's just so funny to see, like, there's value in so many different ways you create in your client experience that you just need to really think about. But it's not the price that matters. It's what is the value that someone's receiving. I do this all the time with shopping with clothes. Like, I pay a premium, I feel like, for my clothes. It's like they actually last longer than I already know that a cheaper out. Like, I kind of done this, like, cost per use type thought process. Where it's like, well, my Lululemon pants last me for 3 years, and my old pants that I used to wear would last me for 6 months or 8 months. I have to rebuy again. So if I buy those pants every 6 to 8 months, and I add that up over 3 years, way more than paid for just some nice Lululemon. That's how I walk myself.
And does anybody know what their ABC pants stand for?
Always.
No. Okay, I'm not going to know. I was hoping somebody else did. Okay, well, look it up. They're really comfortable for dudes, I guess. So, no, yeah. See, Austin, IGP.
So the reason why I pretty call them that's because price only matters, only becomes an issue in the absence of value. Now, in real estate, the cards are kind of stacked against us because you actually have to sell your value before your clients can experience it. Right? They're signing a listing agreement or a buyer contract with you before they actually experience the full weight of your service. There's no returns in this space, right? Once they sign that agreement. So you have to do quite a bit of influence to help them see your value beforehand. So that comes through with how you're communicating on your holding the calls, your client events, like how you show up in business for the couple of years leading up to when you're actually doing the transaction with them. So you want to think about that. How do you carefully curate or stage experiences that cause them to see how you do business before they actually even experience it as a true active client, right? And so just think about that before the listing consultation or buyer consultation as much as possible. There's some situations where it's a referral and you just, refer to them last week and they're ready to buy or sell right now. You don't have a ton to lean on of providing a ton of value up to that point, other than how you prepare for that listing consultation, that buyer consultation. The funny thing is, though, in referrals, your clients have done something called a transfer of trust. Most likely, the reason why somebody referred you is because they've had great experience with you up to that point, or they trust you enough to support their family member or friends, right? So they'd actually transfer their trust onto the person that they're connected with. So even in that case, a lot of the heavy lifting that you've done up to that point is coming to fruition in that referral. So if the perceived cost of working with you is greater than the benefits your clients will receive, you'll lose. So in a listing presentation or buyer consultation, if the clients don't believe that they're going to have better benefits than the price that they're paying you, you lose. So this comes down to how you communicate it effectively. Get those logistics we'll get into. So the question is, how do you ensure your benefits heavily outweigh the cost of doing business with you? What is your value proposition? That's really what this comes down to. So what benefits are you actually providing? Feature versus benefit. I'm going to show you just an email. This was an email to a client last week. This is just the most fresh for me. So Hunter, if you could pull up that email, I know that you've still got that on the side wall. This is where I tried to stage as many experiences up front to where a client can feel the type of value they're going to receive from me throughout the rest of the transaction. This was actually a referral. And this was after our first conversation. These clients they live in California, they're investors. And they're looking at selling properties in California and moving their values or their equity here. And for me, I understand it now. I will say that this is a pretty thorough email. It happened after my consultation with them, and I could tell what type of personality they are. They need a lot of data to make a decision. Now, I could say some things and let them go do their own research, or I could go the extra distance, the extra mile, and do the research for this client. So I won't go through all the details, but as you can see, who's been on our quarterly market updates? Johnny did a couple stack. So you can see some snapshots that from an investor's perspective, I know would be important. And what I'll do in red is kind of highlight, well, this is what the data actually means. This is why it's a great opportunity to buy Utah specific. And so by this first email, these clients can see the type of experience they're going to receive from me ongoing, right? So this was the first, interaction that they had with me is we had our consultation via Zoom. And then within about an hour and a half, I sent them this email, kind of a recap, but also some data that they can lean into. And then, Hunter, did you get the second one? Just scroll down further. So this is just the second email. Let's click on, let's see, you go up. Yep, this is this.
Oh, gotcha.
So what I ended up sending them was this second email. This is about a week later. Where I told them, I gave them a deadline. I said, hey, give me about 7 to 14 days. And what I'll do is put together some potential investment properties that you guys can look at. Some things that might fit criteria that you shared with me. And so what I did was an actual property analysis and broke down on a spreadsheet what the actual return on investment would be for these properties. So I did that due diligence and gave them also multiple options because they want to look at commercial and single family. And the reason why I'm showcasing this is because once you look at every area, there's a business principle that is, go back to the slides now. It's enough to look at. Go back to the slide and we go down to, that's the, this one principle is what I want you guys to get into. I'll word it. This is a principle that Tony Robbins talks about in Business Mastery. It says the number one thing that you could focus on, and he calls it CAN, C-A-N-I. And it stands for constant and never-ending improvement in your value proposition to your clients. And he talks about how your X factor should be that when your clients receive email from you, they should be able to tell it's not the same email that they received from their last real estate agent. It wasn't just a few MLS properties saying, here, check them out. Let me know if anyone fit that investment criteria you told me about. Right? How can you go to make every part of your process? That was just an email example, but how do you look at every part of your transaction experience for your clients and elevate it? How do you make it world-class to where your clients realize the value between you, what they're paying you, and they're paying another agent or have paid another agent? And they can say, I'm getting way more value out of this than what I got last time. Right? So that's where you have to stage as many experiences before they work with you as possible to where they know they're getting their money's worth. But then also throughout the transaction, ensure that you're going above and beyond and make sure that they can say, I paid X amount, 3%, 2%, whatever I paid for this agent, and I got way more worth in the value that I received. I worked a little over on time. So just thoughts, questions as we talk about this conversation today on the value of an agent. We won't go through all this in some time, but we'll send these slides out. And one thing you want to just look at is the value that sellers and buyers subscribe to. Look at this email, we send it out. But just one or two thoughts as we wrap up. What are some things or ahas on the conversation of value opposition? Why is this conversation important? So wait for your hand up the call, you know. So. No, not one. Speaking about that, dude. Well, the value proposition is now about money. It's really about, you said, the results that they box, man. You know, I think this, the old sales adage, find a need and find a niche and fill it. You know, that's really right, but they want something and to up. Yeah.
The concept never-ending improvement really hit home with me because I think as humans we all search for that area of
of comfort. We all want to like get into a routine and just like have things happen and be comfortable. And that's where we become stagnant. And so the constant never ending improvement just gives us that ideal to keep working, keep improving, and that'll help us outpace the people who are in that.
Yeah. It's the greatest opportunity at this time. Like with all that's on the docket right now and changing, the greatest change is the option for us to clarify our value proposition and how we communicate that at once. The last thing I'll share is all the listing agents in here. You need to have these things to your listing presentation. And you need to be good as well at selling the value of having a buyer agent on the other side. That's equally as important at this time of buyers obviously validating their own value, buyers agents, but it's also important for the listing agents to hold true to that value, because the reality is there's a lot of reasons why a seller wants a buyer's agent on the other side. So just think about that. Use that in your conversations with clients, help them understand the value of the buyer's agent on the other side, and that'll make things so much easier. Right? Cooperative compensation is fun. It just has to be communicated effectively and done in the right way. Okay. Ali, we've got the man, the myth, legend from Idax. Give him a hand.